body for him. Uncle Joe's in town, so he's going to stay over a week. And so then, that one time when he was talking, he kept asking, if Clarence and I were doing, first he asked me, and I said, geez, I didn't know anything about this. And he kept asking, so I said, Clarence, this is bothering him. So I said, well, maybe Clarence and I can be together. What he doesn't know, I'll probably know what I don't know. Clarence, you feel better working together. So then that one time, I know this Mr. Jennings, Father Ben had him for his will. And then I was asking about the Chinsky house because it was, how was it? It was Ma got the house, but her name wasn't even on there. It was Pa and Uncle Ernie was witness. So my mom worried about this, so I asked him about it, and he fixed it all up that, it was standing, Francis was standing in the lock, and then if anything happens, it would be the children. But it's all in there. So I wanted to pay him for it, and he says, no, nothing. So I thanked him for that. When Uncle Joe died, then I thought, well, I'll give him the business, because I used to ask him questions like that. And
wasn't he their legal thing on cemetery too, no?
Yeah, he's on the board.
He was.
Oh yeah, but they were selling all that so lots.
He's on that hospital board too.
He didn't work
but good thing he better not get off of that.
Well, they don't want him on there.
Yeah, but he's not going to. He's a smart lawyer.
Because the doctors can do whatever they want to, see, and he was questioning things there, and then there was a kind of, they wanted to remove him from the board of directors of this hospital, see, and he said, I will not, and the commissioners
they wanted him to resign.
They wanted him to resign because they said that he is a lawyer, and he said he works on, what do they call these suits against malpractice? And he said that's too close. And he said that does not interfere. It's separate. See, but these doctors wanted him off the board because he was questioning that, and the doctors were doing as they pleased.
So even like,
but he stayed on there, and everybody, all the commissioners backed him up too. Well, most
even when Uncle Joe died too, and they had, they had to get appraisers, 3 appraisers. Well, that was $15 a piece, which was $45.
Appraisal what?
I said, Mr. Jennings, why do you have to get an appraiser? I said, my uncle, all he had was bonds, and then they took all these bonds and got this cash, and how much these bonds were worth at this certain time. And I said, why do you have to get an appraiser? He never had any property. Now, I could see if he had a home and one appraiser says, they could get
a lot of personal property, like, but he didn't to get it appraised.
Personal property, what did he have? His clothes?
His clothes, right.
Yeah, or that, but most of what they were interested in these bonds. And I said, why do you have to get an appraiser? I says, to me, a dollar bill is a dollar bill, a 5 is a 5, a 10 is a 10, a 100 is a 100. And I says, now nobody can say, take this $1 bill and say that's worth $1,000.
Or it's worth 50 cents or something,
Yeah, I says, a dollar bill is a dollar bill, a 5 is a 5, but if he had a house, well, one appraiser would say, well, I think you could sell that house for $20,000, and the next one would come and say, well, I think you could get 25, And naturally, you try to sell it to one that gives you the most money. But he says, that's your probate court, we got to do it. So then, Uncle Joe had that will made in Traverse City. So he had to make a trip up to Traverse City, and he had to pay the lawyer there $65. And the lawyer signed the form that he wrote out this will for Uncle Joe. And I said, they had the will there with his name.
Yeah, but then he questioned, he said, that guy is not worth that much money. He said, I didn't even take 15 minutes of his time, he said. He said, I don't mind if he takes some, it's worth, but he says, I'm going to talk to the judge. He says, that $65, that is too much for the little time. And he asked the judge, he presented that to the judge, and the judge says, pay it.
Yeah, sure.
See?
They don't care.
That,
what do?
That lawyer, the original lawyer that wrote out the will, he had to testify that was, yes, he made out this will, see, dated so-and-so. Yeah.
Well, where do you go to get
I
it?
mean, they're all, they belong to the bar
Well, he
association.
had, Uncle
They're
Joe
all-
had it in
oh,
Travis
yeah.
because he was living there.
Together.
Yeah, but he had it made out there, but he had it over
He
here.
had it over
Those
here,
guys
yeah.
will be
Then
the
why
same
did you
way.
say,
Oh, you know,
I'm paying this,
Protect their
this,
interests.
Well,
Like
that's
that,
strong to pay it. The lawyer couldn't argue that.
the lawyer could.
what was this, the very final thing, the final?
Yeah, they, what,
2,500 they had?
Oh,
to
no,
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 no, that
no.
was different.
No, no, and Irene, this was when this Mr. Jennings, the lawyer
Manistee.
in Manistee, he had to check up when these,
that will was
Uncle
made.
Joe had a lot of codicils to the will, you know, by the banks in Jersey City. Apparently when Aunt Sophie died, then he had a codicil added that now his sister is deceased and et cetera. She has 8 children and he'd want her share to go and he had them all named, you know, et cetera. See, you know, see. And so he had to, oh, he had all the names down there, you know.
Then when Aunt Sadie's, he had all the 5 kids. And then in the meantime, Al and Floyd were dead. So Aunt Sadie's share would be divided among Jenny and Ursula and Ed.
Yeah.
So he had that changed again, see?
I'm
Yeah.
surprised Floyd's daughter didn't get it.
Well, you know what?
No,
That's
he had
really,
he had
hey,
special
really,
for Louise.
he had a bequest. So that, he must have got, you know, I never knew that, you know, he must have got some advice or something, but he had a bequest for Louise.
Yeah.
It was a small sum, what, $300?
$300.
$300. So that took him off the hook
For Floyd.
for Floyd, or something like that. See, that she couldn't contest that, or
But could, what's called?
possibly maybe the daughter, I don't
Al
know.
married at that time?
I don't
No, he
know.
wasn't. No.
Al was deceased?
That was,
Yeah.
their share was divided between the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then even then, deceased, then somebody would get his share.
Unless
He was married,
unless you
wife,
had it,
children.
unless you had it there that he is deceased, so.
The daughter or the wife would get, but he had that.
But
But then he had Allison.
But I know if you don't want anybody in there, you gotta make sure that you mention their name,
That was
or else
my
you'll
share.
figure you forgot about
But
them.
Allison.
You
It
know,
was right in her name.
sure.
Yeah.
See, and there's a possibility that you could overlook them, so you better mention their names because, you know, otherwise they. But there you go again. But you know, remember, even though if you have a will, now that's the last will and testament for this individual, you think they'd respect it, you know, because if he wants it that way, he wants it. That's his money, etc., you know, and all that. So, but how come the lawyer said? But that must be part of the democratic process, or what? He said, at that first hearing there, I remember Uncle John and Aunt Ursula were there and all that, and then he said, now, if anybody has any cause to question this or to disagree, he says, you can seek your own counsel and present it to the court. You know, in other words, that you could you could get another lawyer and contest.
Sometimes you wonder if it's really good to have a will.
But
Sometimes
you know,
it's really good to have a will.
well, some people need wills, other people don't. It depends on your stage predicament.
If you have something in joint tenancy, you don't
You don't need
need
it.
it. I
You don't
don't
need
have
it. That's the best.
It's all on the kids.
That's the best.
You don't
You don't have to go
nothing.
through probate, etc. You would just automatically have to
And
have
what
it
if you
changed.
have money and then just say, sign it off as trustee for so-and-so?
Trusteeship is better. They don't like that, though. The government doesn't like trusteeships.
They don't?
Well,
But it's better?
well,
Now tell me,
sure.
what is a trusteeship?
Well,
You gotta pay more for that, I think.
No, you
To the
assign
bank.
a trust
They let
after
it in the
you're
bank.
gone.
So much, because
Yes.
some takes care of that
Yeah,
anyway.
Paulson's had that too, trustee, each one of the kids
But-
there.
They were telling me at the bank, because I don't know, everyone tells you, you say, what is a trustee? You put your money in the bank in trustee of another person.
Yeah,
Right,
All right.
The
he
trust
says,
department
this
of the
other
bank
person
takes care of
doesn't
that.
even have to know.
the bank takes care of that?
oh, they have a trust
yeah,
department,
sure.
doesn't
Sandberg does.
your bank must
Works
have
in
a
our-
trust department in your
What
bank.
happens to the one that is, the money's been assigned to?
Well,
they'll let you know.
it's payable of what you, of your directions. Like if you're, say, like, if they're minors, they would get that at age 21 or whatever legal age is, or so, or adults, okay. Well, then you would say, well, okay, maybe pay it off and equals monthly sums. Like a lot of people, you know, they can't trust their children because they'd say if they get the whole thing, they'd spend it all at once. And so they're concerned about their habits, the way they live. So they'd say, well, you only get so much a month or so much semi-annually or annually and all that, see, you know.
But what happens if a person has another adult? Like if I want to leave something to David as trustee, would he get that thing right after I died? Sure. The whole thing without any hullabaloo?
Well, the bank would take some of their service for their trustee.
Sure, maybe the bank would.
The bank takes some of that.
Oh, that's why they got
There's
those.
a percentage of it.
I don't know what it is.
For what, for
I don't.
taxes?
Well, I don't know.
Service.
They give a
A service.
charge.
They're taking care of you, like
They're
Lauren
taking
said,
care of
works on this part.
And you say it's better than joint tenancy? That person
No,
can go and drive around.
no, it's, joint tenancy, that means you got another person on your savings account and your checking account. Okay, well,
That's
they
theirs.
automatically
Is theirs.
is there. I think all they would have to show is a death certificate.
Yeah.
And
See,
they
now,
would have it.
Like I got a little savings account, well, I got Karen's name on there. But if anything happens to me, whatever is in there, she knows enough that she's got divided with the kids there. So when I die, I don't know if I'll have anything, but even now, they got she can go and take that out. And that was the same way that, when I got the house, well, first Gertrude's name was on there because my kids weren't old enough when Eddie died. So then I was Gertrude. Well, now where do we get rent? We were running around like crazy when I went to Chicago because I said, Gertrude's name is on there, and I thought, what if we get killed now when we go to Chicago? So we went down by Sandy and had this all taken care of. But then I put all the kids' names. And before, when I think Karen was old enough there for a while, I could have put Karen's name on there. But they said, even in businesses, if you're son-in-law or what, but so if Karen knows enough that the house has to be sold or whoever wants to buy it and paid off or whatever it is,
Dividing up
with the kids. And they said, but if I only put Karen's name on there, my son-in-law could go and say, your name is on there, you don't have to give it to the kids. The rest of the kids.
Oh, sure, there's their name.
You don't have to.
No.
They told me that before.
Oh,
So now I got all the kids' name on there,
Well, actually, I don't think you would even have to have their name on the house.
Yes, sir.
Automatically, they would,
No,
they would have
but
to,
it has to go through probate.
It'd have to go through
Now it
probate.
doesn't have to go through probate.
Yeah, it'd have to go
It
through.
wouldn't have to go through probate.
Whereas now they all got an equal share.
Yeah.
Or like they have like quick
Claim deed.
now.
Quit
When
claim deed.
Quit.
my
Quit.
ancestry died, they didn't have any problems there.
Yeah.
We had a quick claim deed.
Maybe then I go through another.
I don't know, but.
That's what mine is.
Well,
Didn't have any problems.
that's after your
Yeah,
death,
it went
it's
to the four
automatically goes to your,
Two kids, so
to
they
your,
sold the house and. then
whoever
they
you got
divided
on there.
Among the 4 kids.
It doesn't have to be your children, you know, it,
$15, I think it does.
See, now with you, you've only got David.
You wouldn't
So you gotta
have
have his name on there.
Yeah.
But then if you're good enough, like what was it, that one time when Ann Mary Husky was saying or something, that when she was in the house, that house went to Carol.
but
But
she could,
she could live there as long as she was living. That was her house.
it was her house.
They could, that was her house.
Who could live there?
Ann Mary. It was supposed, when they had this once before she had to go to medical.
She
See,
could
but you
live
gotta
there
have that
in
right
her
down
house?
and ready. Sure.
But she
You
didn't
gotta have that
when she
ready.
died, You put her in a home.
It's not your, it was not her daughter's on.
Yeah, 'cause they could always say, if you get the kids, they could kick you out. Where
Well,
are you?
that's true. That does
Sure,
happen.
sure.
Oh, it's happening.
It's a good thing, but it's happened.
But it's happened like this. They say, you don't know what death can do to a family when, when the
Well,
will and all.
I says, when I went in charge of Miss Deichner's estate, and And Mr. Heston told me when she died, well, when she was laid up for 2 weeks, her foster sister came and stayed with her, and one of her cousins that had a bad heart
They
attack,
really care for anything?
they were here for
First
2
gonna
weeks.
get some scorchers.
And then she had
You want
one
some pop or something?
cousin that was the
I don't
nurse.
care.
was
Or
the
beer?
nurse in the
Beer?
All
And
right,
then the
You want a
church,
beer?
yeah.
and the CSA. First she had the DDF in Grand Rapids, well, then we became Taylor.
What do you want, one of these?
And so
I'll
much
get it.
Guard Angels, and I sell the house and everything. And then, part of that went to the nun, and, part of it went to CSA, Taylor Diocese, and then Guard Angels Church. Well, then.
I suppose when you get back, you'll have to cut your grass and weed.
At the house.
Ride the bicycle.
Foster sister and her cousin had been staying here, and I said, well, I couldn't do that, house was always open.
Kurt just got hurt by
So I
that.
said,
I'd
no,
like
they
to pick
can
up a,
stay there.
Not
Wow,
a 10
when we,
speed. You
and
got a
we,
10
you know, had
No,
to
it's
go to
just
the
a
lawyers, and
regular,
when I walked
regular
back in
type
that
single
house,
speed. Yeah.
and she
I thought
had,
maybe,
old
I'd like to
writing
even,
desk.
you get a
Well,
used
as soon as I
3
walked
speed
in,
or
I
something.
Well, you know, somebody says,
They
they
were
were
taking
telling me, and I had to ask
pictures off the
Doris Calder. They got a repair shop in Lutchcombe,
In Wichita,
he's
well,
a
where?
slave,
Oh,
that he repairs bikes and you
Who's
can
he?
buy. Some guy, I have to ask Doris Calder who it is. Leona was telling me that. That's why I wanted to get, I don't want to get a speed, I want something to pump.
well, I'd like to get a 3-speed or
Oh, that
so.
goes too fast.
That's not that
Where
bad.
would you go ride your bike?
For
Down here,
exercise.
for exercise.
Just ride around.
He could ride it to
You
work.
could ride-
He could ride it to work.
Well, if it's nice, I
Paul
could.
takes the bike to work.
9th Street straight?
I go, Murky Road,
Yeah.
Murky Road, right straight to Vine, and make, and left on Vine, all the way down Vine to, 10th. And that's it, I'm at 10th, and then make a right on 10th. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute,
You go
Rocky Road to 9th, you said.
Yes,
Then you have to go south to 10th.
south to 10th, that's it. And then 1 block east to Manistee.
To the lake,
Yeah,
to the lake.
yeah,
That's where you are.
yeah.
I thought Century Boat was on 9th Street.
Well, there's one on 9th, that's Plant 2, and there's one on 10th, between 10th and 11th. And then there's one on, the end of Washington Industrial Park there, too, see? But I think they're gonna close that one.
And so I said to Gabriella,
It's,
well, don't
it's,
say anything, Julia.
we're gonna make
they
some
had
of
a
the,
baby
we
like
don't,
this, so that's
some of the
what
big
other
boats on
countries
that
know.
300
And I know
Cortez,
Julia's not a female,
they're,
her family.
the
So I
orders
said,
aren't that
Julia,
good
that is
for it.
How big a boat
nobody
do they
else
make down
knows
there?
why.
Oh, that 300
If you want to
Cortez
get
must
something
be,
read this thing with her, read with Gabriella. I said, if you want to
20-some
get
feet,
anything,
20.
just tell us not to say anything. So she did.
29,
That's a big cabin, picture.
oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
said, she did.
29,000?
She didn't
Oh,
have to do it
feet,
in the will.
feet long.
But you were there
Kind of,
exactly.
I gotta give
You
you.
had the right to sell those first.
I saw all that.
See,
Well,
what,
when they came, a lot of things were
What?
taken.
I was gonna ask you, if somebody has
And
an
then there was one
account,
lady, one of the.
bank account in 2 names,
Cousin, she said, well,
It is
Julia always.
this
found
or,
this
you know,
guy
Yeah.
was
well,
stable.
either one can, it's,
And I
Oh,
said,
yeah,
"Oh, I'm
sure,
sorry,
sure.
because Miss Jackson
but it's
told
your
me she
money,
had a
but you
big
put
picture
somebody else's
behind
name
her.
on it.
It was.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You do, you have, you should.
Holy
Right.
chimney.
Here, just in case somebody should happen to you, the other person
They
gets
can
it.
go and get
But it's your money, but if something should happen to the other
And
person,
was handed down in that.
It's yours
the other
then.
person,
One day
it's yours.
It's yours.
Wait a minute, what am I trying to say?
Now, this other person, if he got a hold of your bank,
No,
you
you're
could go
probably
to the
trying
bank
to
and
say
draw
something,
some
now
out
we're gonna
too.
use an example.
Sure.
If you got money in a
It's like a
savings,
joint
yeah.
account.
if you got in seals on there,
Yeah.
if you two are in a car, accident and both killed, then it has to go through probate.
There, all they took was the.
Oh,
It would
yeah.
have to go through that, if this is what you're trying to.
Kill?
When I
Yeah,
stopped,
well, see, 'cause Gertrude and I were doing that, and Gertrude and I go quite a few places.
See, that's
But I
like
mean,
Urban and,
if one of them
Urban and
got
Carly,
killed,
now, they
and
don't
it-
have
and
any children.
Now, it's my
So
money,
they got
but,
the benefits, gee, man, we gotta make out a will. So what if we're both killed in automobile accident?
Yeah, that's our, how this is what you meant.
You know.
See, 'cause Gertrude and I, we
Well,
always
automatically,
together.
if
Sure,
they
but
were, well, if the parents are living, they have
It's your money,
first,
but
I
somebody
guess,
else,
aren't they?
one of them dies.
Next to kin, like.
First, in
Now,
line
she
for
can claim the money
And then after that,
it's not
sisters
her
and
money.
brothers.
Well, I
Now,
think it's
money.
Oh, yeah, because you got her name on there.
And then
degree of relationship.
Yeah.
You got her name on there, unless you
Because I
got
know as far as taxes are, that's
because
the way it
Gertrude and I
goes
go
too.
quite a bit.
The further away, the more taxes.
And if we were killed together,
Then
then if I had whatever I had to go still to probate.
But you have to have a will and say that
That
it
such
is
and such a
account.
name goes
even
to.
Will's got to
I
go.
mean, you have to name a bank or something where it's in, or,
No, you just go to the bank and just name it in and it will.
Where?
Well, she's trying to say, what if
I
I
don't know.
was with
That's
it,
kinda-
somebody else had a bank or something and they were killed or something. That still is your money. But you know what? But if you were killed, then it's their money.
if Alice and I had a lot of money, Alice would have a box with
Yeah.
my stuff,
And
then she'd have her safety deposit box with my things in there. So if Alice would die, I can't go into her box. No, wait, how was that now?
they were telling us that, yeah.
You'd have the same. You'd have to.
No, we both have safety deposit box.
Yeah.
Instead of me having my stuff in my box, I have it in hers. And she has hers in mine.
Yeah, but
She
what
wants
if
any money.
Yeah, but
why don't you have it in two names?
two names?
well, we got it like
You could
that.
have it
but
We've got it like that now.
You
We've
could
got
have
insurance policies and stuff in
Sure.
there.
In two names.
But if one guy's on there, then what do? They still close that up.
Like a lot of times,
Like Uncle Joe's cards and mine.
And now somebody told me, who was it that,
it's like
one
sometimes if you
Kuczynski
got
told me
one
that, that's why you
person
keep
on
your,
the name
in
line,
case
if
of
you
fire,
want-
your
if you're-
insurance policies,
you're
that,
disabled
now
or
Don Chandler or
something,
somebody
or-
says, you
or
never
your-
keep your, insurance
children
policies
need
in a
some
safety
money
deposit
immediately.
box.
No,
So who
they
are you
cannot
gonna
get in
believe?
there.
Who are you gonna
Because
believe?
it's
I
closed
keep
until it's
Yeah.
determined, you know, so
Keep your,
Actually,
why can't you have it?
that's when you need the money. You-
Oh, no,
like
this
for,
is it.
You know,
This is it.
at the
I
time,
have a box and you have a box. You got your things in my box.
That's why I just got to
Yeah.
telling.
And then if something happens to you, well, nobody's gonna stop me. I'm not gonna go into her box. I go into my box and here I got all Alice's papers. But what is it then if
If we wanna get-
what if you wanna get yours
Your
and
stuff,
hers?
yeah.
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 well, then I say, okay, open it up. Well, they look, oh, this is Gertrude Nowaks, that Alice Kabaki, belongs to me. So
I don't know.
got it mixed up or
I
something.
don't know.
You know what?
That's why I'm gonna spend mine now.
It's the best not to
Enjoy it while you
I'm
got
gonna
it.
enjoy it.
in the paper. The banks watch that, savings and loans
Oh,
don't
yeah.
watch it. They read, I used to have CNN in the train. He'd have a bunch of papers, and all he'd look down is the obituaries and where the death notices. I can tell you this because after Joe died, we had one
Any-
little certificate there.
Excuse me, anybody want some soda or a pop or
Not a
something cool?
thing, thank you.
No? Okay.
No. There was one, a small certificate that we still had it, you know, for college and we left over after he got his master's, you know. So that was really his money and it was Joe Green and Theo Green trustees for David Green. So, this was a savings and loan and I did it by phone. This is Chicago Bank. And I got to talk to her and I said, can I have one name taken off of this trusteeship? I said, my husband died, and I said, I just wanted my name for my son. Well, she says, if you can forget that you told me that your husband died, I'll do it. I said, okay, I'll forget it. She says, we do not follow death notices.
Oh.
And that was only
Didn't you have
Yeah.
to show proof that he was dead, sir?
No, did you know? Savings and loan, banks, there's where you have to show trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Banks. This was savings and loan. And so she issued me another book,
Yeah.
and with just my name, they took.
You got that book of mine, didn't I? Or is it still here?
I still got it.
That probate and all that, and how to beat the government or beat that?
How to
How to
avoid
beat,
probate.
how by, I bought a book once. I think
No,
I
how to avoid probate.
got, Janice got it, Gary got it for me once, for $4
I
or
bought
something.
I bought
think I bought it
myself,
here.
You and the Law or something like that was kind of interesting.
And the reason why neither David or I keep much money in a checking account, we had the experience when Joe died. When David was going to college, he had a free checking account, but it wasn't, his name was not on the check with David,
Yeah.
but the bank had it.
Oh, yeah.
So after Joe's death, David was, we went, both David and I, and he says, I want it fixed now so that my mother's name will be on there. And oh boy, the men started taking big papers about this big. All sign here and sign there and there, you know. And David and I looked at each other with them, my God, what are we into?
Yeah.
And finally, they sent us from one man to the other, and he says, how much money have you got in there? David says $150, and he tore it up. He says, well, I thought you had more.
Oh, see? Yeah.
It's just,
So, I don't keep much money in checking account. More than $200 or $300.
Well, I don't either, because why keep that much? Now, in your, we don't get an interest on some banks pay interest on your outstanding balance, like in a checking account. And here in town,
Yeah,
they
some
don't.
do.
And the bigger banks do.
Yeah,
I don't
some
know
do,
if the
but
Chicago banks.
I don't know which one.
How about your banks in Nebraska? Do they pay an interest on your balance in your checking account?
Ours
I think there's some that do that, yeah.
Yeah, mine doesn't.
Ours don't know.
Mine doesn't either.
So I just kind of keep it up according to what checks I'm writing, and I just deposit
Yeah.
that much.
But of course,
I don't write too many checks out unless I'm sending away like some of these people that are breaking these grocery checks out and stand in line.
That's another thing. Hey, that's another thing.
Karen does it, everybody writes checks. I do
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
The only thing I do is their grocery,
they're holding up that
But it is,
line.
I know, but you really, it is.
For my income.
I think you spend less if you write a check out for it, where when you got the money, well, you
But
buy
why
it,
don't
you buy
they,
that. When
why
you have
don't
to
they
write a
sign
check,
their
you
name and
twice.
get it all
Everything's
set
signed,
and
you
just put
it
the
in
amount?
Well, she does that, sign the name and all.
Some
that.
of
You
them,
gotta
what
wait the
day, what's
grocery
today?
department.
You know, they,
Now I
they
got
have-
I borrow a pen or?
I got David on my checking account.
Sometimes you just wanna go in there and you
I
wanna,
died.
I know, and it's just like when you're in a hurry too,
Yeah.
you're short of time, and,
Yeah.
you know.
and they're just buying a few
Now,
measly
another
articles
thing-
and they gotta write a check for
Another
it.
thing, how did they get into the inheritance?
But, you know, your government knows, like they say,
You gotta leave it
each
now.
check
You
you
have
write
to pay
is
an inheritance
microfilm.
tax.
When you got
And
a
they
yeah,
can
but you gotta
tell
be a certain
exactly
age.
what your
Well, I
lifestyle
don't
is.
know, Pa didn't have.
If
So no,
they
when you're a
wanted
certain
to
age, you
find
gotta
out
pay inheritance
about your
tax.
habits.
Yeah, well,
They could-
see,
they
I
could
may
very
not
easily
pay
do
on
that.
Joe. I'm married.
Well,
They
okay,
could-
but if some of the younger one has to.
have,
I don't know.
what
Yeah.
purchases you've
But then,
made,
of course,
et
the
cetera,
children,
everything.
I'll tell you know.
What
And Bob, our
magazines you
son,
read,
was
you
executor.
know, Time Life.
And that wasn't so much, I didn't have, we got.
Yeah, they taxed everything.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't any money, they.
Well, Andrewski says he wasn't gonna pay inheritance tax on his, and I don't know.
Well,
if he
that's
ever
up to
got
him.
How
it.
can you get out of it?
It's up to
When they
him.
say that, what do you on TV?
This one man was telling, don't know how many years he never
No.
paid taxes.
You mean the one
On
from
the
the
Phil Donahue, they had,
When he got from grandpa,
From, Uncle Joe.
that was all taken out of his check.
It wasn't taken out of it, and he says, I'll be darned if I'm gonna report this, and I says,
it was taken out of his check, but the amount that was earned after Uncle Joe died on the bonds to the time that they were redeemed, that was a separate. And that was a separate income that he was supposed to report
On his income tax.
on his income tax, because that was
And I
income.
never asked.
Well, I
him
said,
to
well, it's up to you. If you don't, I don't care what you do, you know.
How's the government gonna know that you got that?
Well, the bank and all that stuff, they gotta send it in, and all your forms in here, they send it to the government, they send one to you.
We know that your social security number is right
You know what?
on.
I got a
I tell you,
prudential
that's a big
insurance.
giveaway.
I got a prudential insurance
That's
that I
it.
took out
When
when
you
I got
got-
out of school.
When you got your social security,
number,
the
they
government knew who you were right there. Your number.
Supposing you don't have it on your banking account, then what happens?
They write
You
you,
gotta.
when you
You
get,
and Paul,
you gotta put your number
They
in
write
there.
and write and write, and if you don't give it to them, then what?
Oh,
I don't
then
know.
you don't
When
do it,
now,
but I
our kids, when they had baptisms or anything, we were given, for Paul, Jennifer, and what's gonna set a
I remember when I took out the CD with these.
you gotta put their social security, or you gotta get a social
you know,
security number,
you won't
and
get
if you
it
don't, you gotta either put Paul's number, and he's gotta
And
pay on
you don't
what
have
the
to
kid's
pay
gonna
any
pay.
taxes.
And
You don't
another
have to
thing
pay
too,
taxes.
my
So I said,
cousin
well, that's
Jimmy,
pretty good, you know,
he,
that kind of
he's
Yeah,
on
now they must
disability
have
now when he
changed
got
the law,
his foot.
because I just started getting the paper, and it tells you how much you got
Hey,
given and how much
and he
interest,
went
now
on
you gotta report.
disability, and there was a
Okay.
long, long time ago, but when their kids, now they must have a girl about 14, every time their kids got baptism money or confirmation, communion, they put in the bank for the kids.
The mother says,
The mother,
save this money, don't
And
spend
you know what, when it was for disability, they told these kids, you gotta save this money. They couldn't, do some or collect some kind of money because their kids had money in the bank.
Kids had money in the bank.
Now, isn't that a shame?
And one boy is,
Just their little
was it
kids.
even 5
5
years
years
old?
old. 5
When he
years
gets
old.
birthday money, they put in the bank for them.
Right.
They're teaching these kids to save their money.
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't get because, Sandy had so much in the bank and,
Cheryl?
David has and Cheryl has. And they took those 3 kids, this money belongs to them. And so my cousin was cut down because these 3 kids got this money.
Well, did those 3 kids have their own banking account?
Yeah.
And they're just young kids.
They're
They're
not
minors.
even older than 14.
They weren't earning any money.
No.
See, you know why?
Yeah.
You know why it is too, because they have their names on with their children's
Yeah,
bank.
but it belongs to the
Right.
kids.
Well, I know it, but see, that's.
But you're teaching your kids to save,
That's the
but if anything
technicality
happens,
right
then they
there.
use your,
You put down their minor, and you're not
doesn't make
working.
any difference. doesn't make-
Oh, you don't have to report.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh,
They did.
Oh, they're minors, they could go check their baptismal records. Birth certificates.
Well,
Now,
you
one
don't
kid
get
is
it
even 5 years old already.
Supposing they do, you're
But
still a
their,
minor.
their parents' name is on there, so it's legally theirs.
But you still gotta get a
Because
social
they're
security
minors.
number when they're 5 or 6
Because
or
you'd be
7.
surprised, we have people,
Well, any
could
of
you
babies
give me the date number?
1 month old, and the baby's got,
Baptism?
if you
Because
make
we'll get the bond, and we
savings
gotta have
account
social
for,
security
you know,
number for these kids. Well,
he's
isn't that
got that
terrible?
number already.
Well, little
They're
kids
right
under a
for
year
a
old,
number.
and when they're baptized, they get, money on their baptism, and they're gonna put it together and buy a bond, so we gotta send this in and get a social security number for this little baby.
So I figure
All
let's
right,
just throw
one,
money
well,
out.
don't report one of them and see what's the
Well,
government
I
can
think
do.
like this to get in with the government.
Yeah, you may be able to get away with, because government can only check so many. Now,
Yeah, but
like you
look at all these
said, but
movies.
the government, they had this on Phil Donahue. The government is, the IRS, they're trying to instill the fear in the in the public. And that's why they put it in the paper, so they got, you know, convicted or fined and
Yeah.
all that, see. And, but they can't possibly keep track of everyone.
No,
And it's
I
just
think
if the computer kicks something unusual out, that according to your wages or your income bracket that you're, and then if you have, say, excessive amount of, deduction. Now they
After
say,
they check those
then they
deductions.
check, there's something, oh, it's extraordinary.
Yeah,
So that
then they
kicks
would.
it up. So then they'll kind of review those maybe, you know, see. But they said mostly, on this Phil Donahue, it says mostly people do not cheat on their medical, because if they claim medical, they've got the proof, you know, see,
yeah.
that they
Well, look at,
won't
like,
cheat on, but they'll cheat on income, additional income.
Dorothy
something like
Stefanik
that,
says,
see.
now her brother Danny, they got
What
5
else do they
kids,
cheat on?
and those kids, every time they got a cold, it ended up in pneumonia. You know, those kids were always in the hospital. And, so they report all this. Well, he was investigated, you know, when he had all his proof to check, you know. They said, God, they never saw any man with so many medical bills as this man with 5 kids.
No, see,
And
it's
all-
extraordinary,
orthodontists and all
so,
that.
yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, how'd they check it? Well, now wait till they.
Well, they had this guy reported so much medical, but he
You
had
know,
all
when
that-
we had our fire, you know, I had to go up to Traverse City, I don't know how many times, because I claimed, you know, and the guy claimed. I got my check back, what I filed, you know, and he says, well, you should really have, the guy that my taxes made out, he said, you should have, before you come in here now, because I called him before, he says, well, check, you know, you got, do you file insurance, you know, when you claim? And I said, yes, you know, I had Oh, we had a, I don't know long it took us to try to go room by room by room. That's why you should have an inventory now. Pictures, you know, of your house, and if you got any extraordinary, like furs, silver, antiques, etc., you should have snapshots in the safety deposit box too.
How could you go? I could go to
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
else's bar, their big,
No,
antique thing.
you could have,
But this is what-
everything, you should have that. And room by room, the cost, when they were purchased, the year, you know, and the cost you paid for them, see, and then they depreciate all that too, see. Some things appreciate. Most
But
of
I
the
Do
year.
you believe that
But-
some people would keep money in the safety deposit box?
Sure.
Well, what? Certainly.
Uncle Joe had it.
Uncle Joe had some.
That's how crazy some people are, in a way.
But he didn't want it, instead of going, I don't think he had a checking
Uncle
account.
Joe, no,
When he wanted money, he could just go.
you can't
and
blame
put it
Uncle
on.
Joe because he lost money in the bank.
Yes,
In savings
yes.
account.
Yeah, so that's
So
true,
in the
really.
First National Bank, he
First
lost
National.
money. So you can't blame him. He just, you know, didn't want,
Probably didn't draw anything
didn't want
on it, but
savings.
At least he had it.
you know,
Yeah.
because
When
he
he
lost
wanted to
out.
go somewhere,
I don't know,
he wanted
what did they pay? Well, he had bonds, right.
Yeah.
And, what
I
did
know
they
that
pay
one
off in that, they only paid 10 cents on a dollar, huh, in that First National Bank, didn't they? When they went
They're all
bankrupt during the war?
2% and 3%.
No, but when, let's say you had, $5,000.
She just
Yeah.
put her name on. And
You
when
didn't
she
get that
died,
when they went bankrupt, or when the bank
had more trouble.
closed.
They had to go
At
down.
that
no,
time.
no, no.
That,
Well,
I
they only
think
paid you small
I think
amount.
they only paid maybe, I don't know, 5% or 10 cents
No, I know,
or
because Steele and
on a dollar.
I, when we came to Chicago, we started an account in the bank, south side of Chicago. That was during the moratorium when they closed the
Oh, yeah.
bank in 1953.
You're gonna have problems.
Well, poor Steele, she had, about $2,000 in there, because I only had that. I don't know how much I had, but anyway, they wouldn't let you have it all. They sent you, like you said, certain percentage, price a year,
Or
every
something.
once in a while. Well, anyway, I lost $800
Yeah,
right
see?
then and there.
Now look at that. And wasn't that was a lot of money, you know?
That was hard earned
Earned money, certainly.
Today, your $800 wouldn't be much.
Oh, no.
But those days, it was a lot of money.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's what, we lost the money there.
That's why you wonder where the government is now, if these banks and all that go, well, everything, the government goes
I
there.
read an article, or did I see that on TV? I can't remember now, you know, but it said that now, you know, the government, and this, Federal Insurance Deposit Corporation, now they raised, it used to be 20,000, then it went to 40,000
You got
insurance. Now, I guess, what is it now? Is it 100,000 now?
I don't know, single, one?
Well, they raised their protection anyway. But they said, what if everything, the bottom fell out of our economic system or something like that? It says, the government does not have, they quoted how many billions of dollars that they got in this fund, but it didn't even cover half of what they figured the billions was insured.
It doesn't cover about 1.5%.
That, maybe, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, man, can you imagine how they're gonna pay that off?
What do you mean? I don't understand this.
Is that, just 1.5%?
If everybody in the country went to the bank,
Yeah.
demand money, cash,
Yeah.
all cash, there's gonna be a lot of disappointed people.
See,
They wouldn't give it to you?
It doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist. I was reading something.
No, the money,
Everybody that had money in that.
did you know the money in the bank is nothing but a bookkeeping entry?
That's all, because
It does not exist as vault cash at
no,
all.
it's just flowing
There's only
over.
16%,
It all over.
there's only 16% that they have to keep as vault cash.
16%?
Total outstanding accounts.
Only 16%,
The rest is all nothing but a bookkeeping entry.
yeah.
In other words, when a bank makes a loan, they expand the money supply by extending a credit.
Credit,
You pay back that loan in hard-earned money
money.
on money that does not exist.
Yeah, I would,
That's how banks operate.
Yeah.
That's what it says, I don't know.
no, like this federal insurance deposit, you know, like I said, if everybody, like Audie said, if
Yeah.
You
but
wouldn't get your
everybody,
40,000 or whatever that bank's supposed to pay you?
well, if they had a whole collapse of banks all over through the United States, you couldn't get your money.
You remember when
Well,
the
that's the
Franklin
same
Bank
thing
went
that
under?
happened in 1933.
Where was that? No, there was one.
You couldn't get your money, let you have it.
No, not, when was
Back
that?
in 74.
Oh, 74? There was one in Michigan around in,
They had one out in Los Angeles.
oh, yeah?
On the Franklin.
Really?
There's
Well,
about
how you
3 or 4
gonna
banks
live?
went under.
Yeah, how you gonna
That
live?
took
You gotta live
one
on your
half of the
income, you
funds
don't
that
have it,
they
then
had
go to the,
They
you
had
live,
to
just live on
cover
you live here, people have less.
it.
Years back, your parents, when they were raising family, had less than the people got now.
Like I said, you're, just
Sure,
because, just
and they
because.
survived.
You know what that amounts
Maybe we
to?
didn't have everything, but we didn't go hungry.
FDIC?
We never went hungry.
No,
Well,
what do
that's
you mean?
what Sheila and I
Oh,
said
it is,
that time
just
when the
stick around the
banks
window.
closed.
Oh,
We were just here a couple of years, you know. They had,
and to give the people the confidence so that
a couple
you
of
would,
years, she was
you
working
would
at the
deposit your money so they can make money on
and
your
then you
money.
didn't earn that kind of money,
Yeah.
like they do now, $20 a week.
Yeah,
And,
It's all legal for
oh
them.
yeah, she says, all right, we lost this money, but we're young, but we can make it up. But see, these older people that lost that money,
sure.
they have to,
I would
they
say
can't go
that
over
you're better
Well,
off
look at even in even the homes, my Uncle Pete
buying
and Uncle Frank, all in
savings
Milwaukee, going
bonds
all
in
these new
your
homes.
federal, you know, in your country.
Sure.
Because if your country goes,
They lost all
well,
their
your
homes.
money's not gonna be worth anything
I can
anyway,
remember
right?
Mom
You
just telling
know,
about
but
that.
they said they even, I was really
I
surprised
don't know, I think
where,
that, this,
what
I
year
think
was
what
it
happened
where,
was lots and lots
the
of
government
it
discounted,
saved all those years and then for the
savings
banks to
bonds
go the year after.
for
Treasury
people,
bills?
treasury,
what are you gonna do, take it out and
savings,
put it in,
savings, I think, they discounted.
ground?
Yeah,
That's the best place. I don't even if you put the money in the ground like they did years back, in a fruit jar.
what, paper money?
Yeah.
No.
That's it, Tom, we were just talking, what are you gonna do,
No.
if you take it out of the bank?
Sit up.
That money ain't gonna be any good anyway.
Yeah,
The
well,
value of it.
Well, you still got your money to spend.
Yeah, but you know, they said it's coming now, that, which it is.
Tuesday, now, tell us
I was reading on what's called, that even a lot of people are gonna have, lots of money, but they're not gonna be able to
well, the people told us that
buy
before.
that.
They used to talk, the old people says, you're gonna
You'll
have,
have a lot of money,
you're gonna
but
have a
you're
lot
not
of
gonna
money,
be
you're gonna be handling a lot of money, but for what? You know, and that's true. And they meant, in the case, compared to years back, you got a lot of money, but it's not buying much.
It's
compared to-
we're not worth nothing.
No, see.
What was this money you was talking about somebody burying it in the bank? Well, years back, the older people didn't put it in the bank.
I know what.
That's where the banks went. They were put.
My grandpa.
My grandma and them had, in the fruit jar there one time.
Well, he had,
My
yeah.
grandpa was telling my mother that he
Yeah.
had money in a fruit jar there when my grandma died.
right in the corner of the
They
basement where
buried.
the potatoes used to be and dug in the sand.
They buried my grandmother because my grandpa lost money in the bank and you know, with 12 kids, they
Yeah.
were really hard hit.
So he had enough there for a burial. And he didn't have any life insurance neither.
Hey, and they managed. They managed.
They were afraid to take a chance because they had big families and look what they worked for.
Now, are they?
Yeah, of course, they
Yeah.
were.
You remember the time there was one of your relatives that bought a house that some old people lived
yeah,
in there?
Harry.
Harry Connicky, I think.
Harry
And they
Connicky.
were remodeling the house?
No, it was an empty
It
yard.
was, yeah, he bought a lot.
A
It
lot.
was in the house.
I know the house was burned, I guess.
Tell Addie.
The house, what was it? It was an old house. I
It was an
remember
old
when
house,
that man
remember,
lived there.
Al, we used to
He
say
was
up to
he was a poor guy.
Wow.
And he lived
All
on
the
6th Street,
people.
Walners.
Wow.
And everybody felt sorry for him. They cooked stuff and gave
I
it to
used
him.
to send stuff over
And
there.
then Harry Connicky bought that lot after this guy died. And they were digging
the church.
what happened to the house.
Then the church.
The
Well,
house was raised.
raised
I can
out. It
remember
was an old
kids
house.
used to play ball in it, and
Yeah.
all you'd do is, there was a couple, fir trees,
Yeah.
spruce trees, where they had in the front of the house, and then
So
they had
then
that
he was
cement
building
sidewalk for the front
digging
end.
a
That's all there
foundation.
was.
He found all these gold coins and everything. He said he wished he would have saved those coins for today.
But the gist of it was, that money could have still been there in the ground yet. See, but he was lucky, I guess, according to originally where they had their layout there, that was excavated. And so they decided, gee, it'd be more convenient if I built out just a little further, and had from this back entranceway, and had more closet space, and kind of like a back entrance, so you just don't come into the house, see, and had more room. So they were digging that by hand, shoveling,
Harry, watch out for that big crock.
She was always kidding them, watch out for that crock there, and they, and that's what happened. And it was almost I was in the service then when Ma sent me the papers, and so they struck some. He and his brother were digging. They said, "Gee, what is that?" So they were careful, and they found a piece of like an old crock, and so they were careful. They went around with their hands like that. They broke the top of it, I guess, or cracked it, and there was one big crock inverted over another crock, smaller crock. And they got there, and they said, "Gee, man, there was an old medicine bottle in there, and inside it had a cork in there yet, see." And inside there were big treasury, big wide bills, like pockets. They used to call them horse blankets.
Oh, yeah, those big bills.
Remember?
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
There
No,
were
I
gold,
remember big.
built on the gold standard.
Oh, gold, yeah.
See, and they were rolled and they're tied with silk thread, see, and in there all $20 gold pieces. I remember,
Paper money, was it paper money?
in the medicine bottle,
Yeah, but paper money.
paper money
You can demand this $20 bill in gold.
or something,
See,
yeah.
but we've got
But
that.
anyways, the rest were gold coins, and what was it? About $1,400 face value
Yeah.
in those days.
Now look what
Now look what, and I asked him one time, I was always going to ask him, and I remember I came home on a
still
furlough,
got some.
and they used to live next door to us upstairs, in the upstairs apartment, see? And so I went over there, and I said, "Gee, congratulations," to him, I said, on finding that money. He said, "Yeah, we were really lucky," he said, And so he said, "Here, do you want to see?" They had, I don't think everything was there yet. He had a cigar box,
I know,
I remember, and there was all those gold coins,
called me up and he said,
$20
"Oh,
gold
I've been
pieces,
there."
He had a cigar box, and he said, "Yeah," he would tell me, he said, "Yeah, I got offers from coin collectors," he said, and I said, "Well, which guy?" He said, "Well, yeah, we can buy all our furniture in this house," he said, so he sold it. But he sold it for, I forgot about it, but just recently at somebody's graduation, I was always going to ask him, at those family gatherings. So I asked him, I said, Harry, did you ever save any of those coins? He said, "No, I sold them all." And I said, I don't know, and want to be nosy, but what did you actually sell those coins? He said, for one and a half times, I think, of what they were worth. Face value. And I said, "Boy, wouldn't you wish you had them now?" He said,
Yeah, no.
What's the name and where was the house?
Velma, on 6th Street, you're right.
You remember where we used to live
Roshinsky.
on the corner?
There were 2 houses
40
down.
times their
Yeah.
face value.
See,
it's
that's
the one where
when
they didn't
gold
have
was
to turn the money
$35
in.
now.
Well, I don't know, what do they do? Do they have to pay the tax?
Did they
on
report
everything?
it?
Turn it up?
They had to report it, and I guess they were considered the heirs of that because,
There were
There were no which come.
but Ma
But what
said,
if you
Ma
bought
said,
that was there?
Ma used to say that I bet that old man maybe did not know that money was there because he remembers his wife. They were putting, she remembers his wife, and she died suddenly. They were putting on new roof on their house, and they were taking off these old wooden shingles.
Yeah.
And she died from blood poisoning. She apparently stepped on a rusty nail, and she died real fast. And she often wondered, she said, "I wonder if she ever got a chance to tell him if she was saving that money." But then there's another possibility that man knew that money was there too, because they said, like, they always thought he was so poor that everybody felt sorry for him, taking soups and, and when he went to the hospital, they said he wore that coat, and they said he had money sewn in between the linings of that, so, I don't know.
Did I ever tell you that I got a $10, now I haven't, but if Bob has a $10 gold something, and it's got all different writing on it?
$10.
It's a $10 paper. $10.
It's
A paper. $10.
American?
Yeah.
money, you mean
And what
Paper
kind of,
money,
what
and it's some with gold. I'll have to show it to you someday.
gold?
And Bob was it's a gold certificate.
Oh.
And Bob, when he was working at the Eagles, this guy come in, I don't know, he didn't say who it was or what, and he said, and I didn't even know Bob would know
Is it
enough to look at it.
American? Is it
Yes,
American?
it's American.
Oh, I don't know.
And he said, so he gave it to me. And he said, put that away for me now, and so I got it. Bob's, do not spend, or anything like this.
Well, paper money.
But, I don't know what it would be worth. So when I had to ask her, when he
Paper
came in,
money
when
could
this
be
guy
worth
came in, he
something,
wanted a
unless
drink
it's
for
real
this. He
rare,
works at the
but
Eagles.
otherwise it's gotta be in
He said, are you sure you
Yeah,
want
well,
to
not
spend this?
necessarily.
He said, yes.
No,
So then when
unless
Bob
it's
saw
real
what it was, he put
Yeah.
he gave a $10 bill and he took this thing. So I don't know what it would be worth, really. I'll have to show it to you someday.
You know, they used to give money before, with the gold backs, and you can demand this money in gold.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this is what it says
Yeah,
there.
well, I used to save that kind of money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I had $300.
But now you can't get your
All
gold
right,
on
when it came out that time,
it. Took it off.
you have to turn it in.
Yes,
And
then you got your gold. That was that gold.
You mean this one?
When we went off the
Like
gold
when I
standard.
took it to the bank and got the
That's the
$300.
same way, pre-64, when you had your silver certificates, payable in silver. Remember that?
Yeah, but that was,
In 1964.
It says silver.
Remember?
I got a lot of
was
those.
a great big one.
No, the regular
No, but it says
$5,
silver.
$10 dollar bills.
So they
Payable.
don't have it?
No.
No, now it's Federal
I
Reserve.
don't know how many they got, and for a while,
She gets it when she comes to money.
I got the questions that I.
And you could go, especially if you were to, close to where assay office, Mike, and they have them in these bigger cities. You could, like, that's in 1964, that was the last year that we had the silver content
Yeah, it's a paper
in our
content,
coins.
and on top it says silver.
And so,
I never pay anything.
so you could, they had it in the paper where you could, that's where people are going with these silver certificates and buying, they could, on demand, they could get $1 worth of silver for each dollar that it had on there, if it was 5. Now, see, silver's up too,
I do remember you had that gold piece? Yeah, she won a gold piece
I
once.
got a lot of five, but.
You want to go?
A regular dollar
Now,
bill.
here's where the government said that you had to turn them in.
Yes.
You did not have, you could have said, I'm a coin collector.
Oh, you didn't have to turn them in.
You didn't have
Every time I
to.
come across them at work.
They
After
said
a
you
certain
had
date,
to.
they wouldn't take it.
They would.
Silver.
And listen, if I had that money
No,
today
but the gold, I know.
and went to the bank, they'd say, where did you get this money?
And then, I remember when Dr.
Mine.
Johnson was here in the 60s, and
Sure.
you would take all your quarters, $50, and dimes that were silver. And when you get them rolled up in your hand before you roll these up, you could pick out those. And I saved
Look at what they're paying now.
in
What is it, the 10-cent,
Before
364 dime
Yeah.
silver
Part of
content?
your collection.
Yeah, I got lots of, you don't see too many now, I'm looking for Indian.
Well, $1.15 it was, now it's
So
like,
she was showing, it's just like a dollar bill. Only over here like this, but it says up on here, it says silver.
you see some of my silver ingots?
Now, the yours isn't.
You
No,
got
this
it?
is the regular one, but I got a lot of those.
Forgot it?
Now, are those
Yeah,
worth more than a dollar?
Yeah.
Well, there was
Franklin
some, they
Mint.
had something in a picture, but I figured out.
Well, Madison,
You know something
Madison,
else?
they're 9.99
You
silver.
have bonds.
Yeah.
They're, and
I
they're
figured,
blue.
well, at one time,
This is
now
all
the
blue.
price, like, see, that's
Your
what,
numbers
you're
and all.
better
But
off
There are certain
doing
bonds that
that.
are good, the
If you retire, if you need some more money.
They wanted them for 30 years.
Well, I did
Yeah,
have
so
bonds.
something else
dirty
then.
like that.
And yet, every time when I go to that money, I have your
she gets that off from
Make
Sandy.
What?
Make
About the
the,
bonds
you
and
know,
stuff.
They were good for 30 years, weren't they?
cast sale.
Now they're good for 40. No, they
Yourself.
extended them for
Yeah.
40
Well,
years.
I was gonna catch my in once, they told me to save those, because they're worth more now.
Where?
Government bonds, the E bond.
Well, yeah, I think they increased their
They were good
interest.
for 30
Well, I
years.
was gonna ask you, did we ever come across those things, because remember you used to buy these little stamps?
Yes, I don't know whatever happened to our stamp. I can remember I used to have quite a few
You
10
better
cents
have a
a
whole
stamp.
book, and then when
And
you're
I
done,
was-
you get a bond.
I don't know it.
Remember, school kids had, you would buy
Yeah.
stamp day, you know,
That was
on
when my
Friday.
kids were in
And,
school.
well,
That
we
ain't
did,
very long ago.
we did too in the,
had those
during the
little
war.
notes in the place.
And then when you filled up a whole book, then you could buy a $25 bond.
Going through your boxes, you jumped
Yeah.
through.
Oh, we went through those.
And a lot of times you'd go to a card party and play cards and they'd give you $2 worth of, stamps, you know.
They
in
were
the book,
trying
you know.
to circulate the $2 bills, but it didn't go.
No,
Yeah.
that,
Oh, I hate that.
How about that Anthony dollar, Susan B. Anthony dollar? Oh, gee.
Yeah, I got some of those.
Oh, yeah, the silver
I
dollar.
just say,
That's not silver.
I got some, but I got.
You didn't see it even?
Oh, I need
bought-
those
I bought
because
a few.
every time I want to use them, and I,
Oh, I wouldn't
Yeah.
want one.
yeah, they look like quarters.
I'll have to see if I can.
Well, the Gertrude gets the envelopes, doesn't she?
Yeah,
She's
that's
all that
yeah.
money. She can, you know, or any cashier, or
Sure.
a girl from the bank, you know. They can catch
but
on.
yet I was surprised at Bob. Now, I
You
don't
think
think
they
when I
got
could
time?
change, I don't see that much
When you
attention.
work at the bank.
And I was surprised that he noticed that $10 bill in gold, what's-it-called.
You didn't notice it?
I and Bob did. I never paid attention when they give you
Oh,
money.
here's
I
another
never do
thing.
it. I don't even know how much he noticed.
You know, years ago, when they made
Now, see, now here's
$10 bills, $20 bills, it would say, you didn't have it on the Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, or,
1964, so I can put that.
I don't know, it'd be Ludington, Michigan. But there was one from Muskegon, and they had, what is that name, it's some big firm in Muskegon, I can't think what it is. And had the name, huh?
Continental is about the biggest in there, no?
No, it's a place that you work.
Continental.
No, that's Baltimore.
And,
64,
Yeah, and you could tell when you roll them up,
I
you
wonder
can
if that
almost
money
feel
would
it.
be worth
You
that.
got
it's worth $5.
Huh?
It's worth
Worth
$5.
$5,
Here.
50 cents, worth $5.
Where?
It's a silver.
Is it from before what?
It's
1964.
anything before 64.
Yeah, that's the Bible thing, that's why I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn some of that.
$5 for half a
That's
dollar?
what he did. I
So
think
it's worth now.
boy, I could retire now if I can't all these things in. I got rolls of dimes and
Retire
Yeah.
then, Gert.
quarters.
Think
But
like
here, and
Hold them out
Here's,
some more.
here's this, now here's your quarter, and this is your
See, here's
dollar.
mine.
Oh, that's the
That's a
dollar?
dollar.
I
I
got
hate that.
the Wonders of
Alice,
America
so-
series.
I say, I can go down to the bank and I have to keep these separate.
Oh, I buy these, so
Yeah.
I feel they're tired, things like
Oh, did you have to pay much of a premium on this?
on that, those, at that time, I used to buy a whole set for,
79.
I think, $29.50.
How much over a face did you have to pay for it though?
Boy,
$29.50 for those.
that's a
That-
collection, huh?
That's for,
I
five.
wouldn't keep it
Is
there.
this an ounce?
That's 1 ounce. Each one is 1 ounce, 999 silver.
1 troy ounce?
One,
got
yeah, you can see it right here.
Oh, yeah, you can see that.
You paid almost $6 an ounce for it.
$6, right.
Close your what's called, somebody's gonna show, see you down.
Oh, boy, pull your blinds.
No.
Across. You have to
You never know, really.
You never know.
But, see, these are the ones I used to collect, too, you know, see.
Oh,
So this is
I bought a ticket here, I gotta see. I'm trying to win $10,000.
different.
Well, where do you go to buy those things?
Well, I used to buy them through the mail from, you know, but,
A little bit more there in the middle. Where in the world do you keep these in the house, for God's sake?
well, I had them in a, I had them in a bank, but I was just,
I was gonna say.
yeah,
In case of fire, these would melt, wouldn't
they would melt, right.
Well, it depends on how hot the fire is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put them in a safety deposit in my
Oh,
name.
my God.
Ooh.
See, they're different, you know.
How come they're so hard?
They used to
How
be,
much is one worth?
well, it all depends on some, you know, actually, at the time I bought some of these, I think I used to pay 4.5 for them or something like that.
How do you like that?
Keep
Four,
it, you know.
four, and I get one.
But that's when silver was cheap. See?
How do you-
One
I
dollar.
think we didn't win that at Jennison today.
I get
Nobody called us and,
I got it even the one
I
ounce
get
of
five
pure
silver,
silver.
five ones, runs, and then
Yeah.
the total
Yeah.
is
you didn't get nothing, Miss?
What's FINE? 999.
Fine.
Is this the kind you and George have, or you just have,
George doesn't have any,
just regular coins?
You got something like this?
not like that, no.
No?
David's got the round things. You
Oh,
got those?
I got some of those.
Yeah, David's got
well,
those.
you got those, what was it,
Duration? Is it
something
actually
like
real
this,
silver?
Yeah.
this international
Silver?
thing that you can,
Universal.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's something like the Krugerrand too, you know.
Oh, that's what David's got.
Krugerrand. Oh,
That's
yeah.
what he's got. And
Yeah.
he could have sold them because they were high. He said,
Oh,
"No,
yeah.
that isn't what I bought them for."
Yeah,
He says, "I'm saving when the money is
Yes.
going to be worthless and we're gonna have something to eat when I use
that's
this."
true, that's true.
Who, you can mean you
That's
have
true.
one of these and you're gonna go to the store and say, "I wanna look for bread"?
Well,
Will they use that for that?
sure, you can barter this.
What
you
store is
know.
gonna trade it in for
Huh?
you?
When the money's
You
worth,
When the
guys
money's
all read that
worthless.
stuff. See, David reads it, he reads it.
When the money's
You read
worthless,
it?
here's, let's see, now, see, there's Babe Ruth, Lindbergh, Sir Winston, Marilyn Monroe, they were,
When you stop and figure, of course, I don't
but
know.
I like these Wonders of America, there's all the different,
Are those also pretty?
well, some are, you
Oh,
know.
this is a handy one.
I just had them out there because I was, showing.
Well, I think it was going to.
See, now, you put that in the bowl.
Oh, you shouldn't have, that neighbor that knew. Well,
I got a safe in the basement.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
I said, geez, sometimes you wonder if they know past your alone.
Well, that's right.
No, well,
Yeah, well, we
I
lock
don't
the
know
doors when we go to
They're
work.
like their father.
oh, well, you can't say, no, that's a
Do you
trick.
leave that door unlocked, or you should just leave it unlocked when
I
you
like,
we were
lock it.
when we go, we lock it.
Oh, you're there,
Anybody
because-
walk in here, you would.
What, the basement? Yeah, they had the doors unlocked when we were here, you
Well,
know,
that
so
was
we
when you
walked
were
in.
coming.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, usually when I go to
What do you
work, I
lock?
close the garage door.
the house.
Because he can park and get out. No. But I'm beginning to think now that he's getting a little female, and I'm gonna hope he don't start taking walks with my mom did.
Well, I don't think
And leave him.
he's not, he's got his memory, you know.
I know, but it isn't that good, Claire. He's starting, if you don't notice this well. He is